Hey everyone, welcome back to the Intelligent Conversations podcast. Today I have the honor to learn from Jay Jermo. Jay is the owner of HeyHoney, which sells local Michigan honey. Jay has a unique determination to be the master of his own fate. So Jay, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. But here's a question I want to open up with.
Sure.
And that is, how did you stumble upon honey? Because that is something I just think is so fascinating.
So, no one's really asked me that question in that way. If you were to ask me like 25 years ago if I thought I would be a specialty honey producer and distributor, I'd have laughed in your face. It wasn't the direction I was going in. I moved to Los Angeles and worked for a couple of movie studios for a hot minute, and then ended up in Chicago and sold direct mail to ad agencies. And to try and abbreviate everything, 2008 happened. I lost my job. I lost the properties I owned. Everything went upside down. And after a couple of years of that, I just ended up moving back from Chicago to Michigan. And I got a job at a bank doing stock purchase plans. And it sounds more glamorous than it is because we weren't comped on our transactions or anything. We just had a flat salary to kind of show you the direction of corporate America and what they were taking. And after a year, I had some vacation time, and I went up and just kind of took a tour of my home state and stopped at a cousin's place who was a commercial beekeeper. And we hadn't seen each other in a while, and he sat me down. We had a cup of tea, and he had gotten married a few years before that, and his wife made a couple of different flavored honeys. And he showed me how his shop was set up, and he just talked to me about his journey. He used to be a lineman, working on electrical lines, and his side of the family had been raising bees forever. He got into it. And as an aside, he had said to me, if somebody wanted to, I could teach him the ropes and grow additional product and then take it down to your neck of the woods to sell it. And that really resonated with me because I always wanted my own thing. But I think in my early years in business, I knew how to sell, but I didn't understand what it meant to own anything. And he showed me the ropes. I started buying my own hives and my own hive lots. And he did a lot of production for me and bottling. And then I took it down to one farmer's market. And I had such a positive response from it that I just started making up flavors that we didn't have and telling customers about it. Like I said, I'd say something like, a couple of weeks we're going to have plum honey. And I knew certain foods that paired together. So I just said, that one's going to be specifically for pork tenderloin. And then we're going to have, in another week, we're going to have a coconut honey. That's for barbecued shrimp. And we didn't have anything. But I had such a positive response from it that after the market was done, I packed everything up in the car, drove back halfway up the state to Bay City and said, we got to figure out plum honey and coconut honey and all these other ridiculous flavors. And I remember at the time, his wife, I think she liked this just being a little cottage industry. She kind of didn't love my involvement, but I kind of blew up the sales. And so they didn't really have a choice but to placate me. And that's how it started. It went from one market to like 7 in a couple of years. That's how it started. So I told you I was going to run on a little bit, but I hope that gives you the preface.
I think that's so cool that it's kind of weird how we just stumble upon those ideas like, whoa, why don't we just try this instead? And
I only did it because I still had debts when I came back from Chicago. Like I had to buy a beat up used car. and I had to pay that off. And I was like, I'll just do this to make a little extra scratch. And what's funny about it is, when I sold for companies, there was a protocol of behavior that I followed, but that's really what made me miserable. The nice thing about being at the markets and having your own customer base is, for the first time in like almost 40 years, I could totally be myself. And if people didn't respond well to me, they weren't a customer, and that's fine. Because I like to crack jokes, I say obnoxious, ridiculous things, I like to make people laugh. And sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't. But when you're working for a company, all the time I had like three sets of bosses who were like, I don't like your sense of humor and I don't like the way that you talk to customers on the phone. And that is exactly what made my business take off. And when I worked for
Hmm.
other people, it was way more of a grind. Like, I'd slowly accumulate customers, and I was accused often on the side, not within earshot of my boss, but they would always say things like, you know what, you don't seem very authentic. And it really got to me because, like, I'm doing what the boss tells me to do. I don't have a choice in the matter. And slowly, since I've started this, I've really become a proponent for people finding their own thing, whatever it is, and taking it to market. Even like I started out on the weekends. Like this, I didn't have a social life. I just did this. And I didn't go out to bars at all. I didn't party. I didn't get together with, people for barbecues or anything like that. I just went to the markets. And but my personality just finally like really rolled out. And after like a year, I'm like, I'll never have a regular job. I can't behave the way, companies want you to behave. I can't do that anymore. And it's not like, it's funny, you know what, man, because people talk all the time about having it, like it's not about the money. Like the money does come, but
Hmm.
the way that you kind of find yourself, that is so much more rewarding. And you can't do it when you're under the shackle of a corporation or somebody else's equity. You just can't really do it. Not if you have behavior, attitude like me.
I agree. I find that to be so true that sometimes we just, I mean, this is the something I've been thinking about as well, but like as a, let's say, a business leader or doing your own thing, you need to have this like let people kind of do their thing and let them make their own mistakes and be act more of a as a guide rather than a, I guess a boss would probably be a better word for it. I like to say there's a difference between a boss and a leader, and uh, you want to really try and be a leader and just say, all right. So you have and great leaders ask questions rather than um, tell them what to do. So like in your case, I would say that honestly, like let's say the boss or manager, whoever it was, comes and says, "Hey, you need to sell this specific way." Rather,
Mm-hmm.
they should have honestly came and say, "Hey, why do you think this is working and this isn't?" Right, and that opens up a whole avenue of options that you just never even thought of. Right.
I don't want to pit like I'm thinking of a couple of guys I worked for in particular that relationships changed over the years that I worked for them, but it started out that way. It definitely I mean, there was two guys in particular. They were, as far as being good bosses. I mean, things changed within the company that I don't think were totally within their control. But as far as mentors, they were, for many years they were very good, and I think that if I'm being totally honest, it really kind of laid the groundwork for being like, you know what, don't worry about what exactly is going to come out of your mouth. Just like you have to talk to your customers, like just like you talk to a lot of leaders aren't going to like that I say this, but talk to them like your friends. Because if they're not, if they're not that, or they don't become that, or you don't have that level of familiarity with them, there's going to be no longevity uh, to the customer relationship. It's going to be purely transactional, and that's like when people buy a commodity. They don't care. They don't care about the story. They care about the price or the deliverability, and that's it. If you really want to have a connection with somebody, you got to be authentic, because authenticity is what leads to depth in a relationship. That's what leads to stickiness in a relationship. And not everyone's going to be your customer. That's okay. It's harder for institutions though, because a lot of like business to business sellers, the sales process takes forever. It takes months, and during those months when you're not being um, when you're not drawing sales out of a customer, to a lot of bosses or leaders, whatever you want to say, it can look like you're not being productive. And it's business to business sales are like, I've done it. I don't want to do it again. I like, you know, I've got this thing, try it. Do you like it? If you do, here's how you can use it. You know, I make some jokes about whatever, and then they come back because it's a consumable. Yeah, but my heart goes out to anybody in their 20s who's into B2B sales right now. That like for me it was a struggle. I did pretty good at it, but it took a while to figure out. And I hated how long the sales cycle was. It just took forever. So that's what I mean though. And like in
Yeah.
as you age, you figure out what you are and you're not good at.
I mean, it is definitely, I would say, it is harder. I haven't done it, but I would assume it is because most businesses, like you said, it takes time. But I was kind of curious. So the sales you like more is kind of just direct, like you see the person right there, and then you just chat up with them and say, hey, like here's some.
Yeah, it's like this might be a little bit to my detriment because I follow a lot of business folks on Instagram and such, and they, like Cody Sanchez is one who um, she'll promote the successes of other little entrepreneurs. Like I just saw one this morning about this young woman who started a eyelash line. Um, and she was picked on as a kid, and so she kind of became a little bit more introverted. She was from another country, and um, she got into makeup. And one thing that she noticed was that fake eyelashes tend to be of lower quality, so she developed her own, and she launched it, and in like 2 months had $1 million in sales. Like that, I can't even conceive of that. I mean, and I think there's for every one of those there's 1,000 who either don't go anywhere or make a modest living. And I'm doing very well, but I'm not doing $1 million in sales. And part of that is, well, I guess if I did more online advertising, I could ramp it up. But I tend to focus a lot on.
Is Does it kind of play a role then, kind of just because you sell the honey, right, from other producers, so there's other beekeepers out there that uh, make the honey.
Yeah, I started buying my own hives and leasing my own hives from other producers. So um, there's a couple that I go to them and I say, hey, I'll buy you X number of hives. I want you to put them in these locations. These are the flower types I want to raise. Like if I'm doing single pollen honeys, I can't be everywhere all at once. So I'll make use of their boots on the ground. But in Michigan, yeah, I've got a crew and we do all our own stuff. But I raise some in Turkey and some in Hawaii and a couple other places, and I'll go to them and be like, hey, I'll give you a capital upfront investment, and then you'll get the portion of the output. But um, if I select where I want them staged at and how what bee types I want you to use and extraction methods and mite control, things like that, if we can come to an agreement on those particulars, and they get a lion's share of the output, I get the balance. It's still mine. I can't be in like 6 different places at one time. It's more of an
Gotcha.
investment model than it is lifting everything.
So what determines then, like, what's a good location for to raise bees, or is it just kind of anyone can
No,
do it?
it's like it takes a while to find somebody because, like, I mean, we've got a lot of hives in Michigan. Like, we got a lot. But I'll just do internet research and reading about where particular flowers grow and check to see if there's commercial keepers out there. And then it's a slower process. You got to ring them up and have a meeting and, you know, see if they have a need for like a capital infusion and see if they want to run more hives, see how they're currently running their boxes. But I wouldn't say it's any real. It's not that it's not real rocket science, but you have to have the patience to like. You have to be able to communicate with people well, and people want to have to work with you. You know, you have to figure out what that person's needs are and how you can best address it. And if production flows are to my liking, you have to have a way to market it. You can't just say, "Hey, this honey's from Italy." That doesn't cut it. You have to say what flower it's
Mm-hmm.
from. You have to talk about the tonal varieties, when it's available, when it's not, who it appeals to, and like it can sound a little I don't know like you're segregating your customer base, but like I have certain like very deep and acerbic tasting honeys, very robust flavors that not everybody likes. But if I have people visiting from Paris or northern France or Eastern Europe, they respond to those tones and those savory flavors better than Americans do. Most Americans prefer the sweeter types. Or if you go to
Mm-hmm.
like if you go to England or Northern England, they kind of wrote the book on clover and wildflower honey. So when I get an English customer who tries my product and they like it, it's like the highest compliment. So it's been a 12 or 13 year learning curve about honey because everybody has a story with that particular food item.
Man, that is like honestly, it's so cool. So, is there you have international hives then, like hives that you produce honey outside the U.S. then?
Um, I had I made a contact in Italy a number of years ago, and it's see this is what's important about relationships is everything is done over the internet now, and it's no. I'm gonna sound like your dad or an old man here, but like there really is no replacing meeting somebody face to face. So I found a guy in southern Italy. He doesn't do this anymore. This was a number of years ago, and I have other type relationships. But he had, I want to say, 8 or 12 different flower types that he put his hives in. And I told him what I did. Um, I told him I wanted to invest in him, but I'm very much a boots on the ground kind of person. I want to come over there and meet you and see how you do it. And I did. So I get on a plane, I fly over to Italy. Um, I take a train down from Florence to Pisa and then south. And then I met him. He had this little shop in the side of a mountain, and his office was maybe it was the size of a closet, and he had a little computer in there, and he didn't speak any English at all. So I get in there, pull up Google Translate, and then I say, "Hey, look, the reason why I wanted to come over is because I'll buy hives for you, or we'll figure out some kind of arrangement, but I'll make a capital investment, and I work with a customs broker who just deals with food items from overseas. So I take care of all the tariffs and all the exchanges, and the FDA bringing
Mm-hmm.
product into the country. It has to be clean. That's the other thing. The nice thing about
Yeah.
growing some honey in Europe is they don't use pesticides the way we do. So It's a cleaner product, which the FDA likes. And then, it took about a year to set up. And then, I offered chestnut honey and sunflower and acacia. And they all appeal to a different group. So, but unfortunately, we did that for a couple years, and then he had a large varroa mite infestation, and he lost all of his hives. So it was unfortunate, but then you have to find a new person to have a relationship with. But that's the nice thing about agriculture is everybody is always looking to grow their customer base, because agriculture, I don't care where you live, it's difficult. And if I can provide not just a customer outlet, but input for growing methodologies and capital for more hives, because if you have, there's some parasites that if they infect your hive, you have to burn the whole hive. So I mean, there's a number of different ways to make money with beekeeping. But you only really figure this stuff out over time.
Gotcha. Have you like encountered then any like first time beekeepers where, you know, it's just kind of like, hey, I want to own some hives and this is my process of how I, you know, produce honey. What do you like? What do you think? Have you dealt with first time or
I don't do that. I don't do, like, I'll talk to people about methods they might want to employ to get a better output, but like when I have like 3 key investments right now. I really only work with people who have, you know, a large footprint and have processes in place for production flow. Like I know about how many pounds or how many thousand pounds I'm getting out of each hive site, you know, month by month. And the guys who are just starting out, they're going to trip up. They're going to, you know, they're just starting. All the people I work with have been doing it for a couple decades.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I mean, it sounds like it's, I mean, obviously it's one of those things, right, where you just kind of look at it and you're like, oh, that doesn't look too bad. But then once you get into the finer details, you're like, whoa, there's a lot more to it than I thought. So what kind of goes into then beekeeping, like production? What kind of goes into that?
Well, every beekeeper would like to be able to winter their hives, so they can use the same colonies and grow the same colonies into larger ones the following year. That doesn't always happen, especially with first timers. They try to winter them and it doesn't always work. Maybe they might buy the wrong type of bee or the right. If they buy, let's say for example, Italian bees they're not really suited to Michigan climate because it gets pretty cold here, or the beekeeper doesn't insulate it properly, and they don't feed them properly, or they don't vent it properly. But if you're able to winter them over from one season to the next, you can keep your costs down just because you don't have to go out and buy new supers and buy new queens, which can be expensive. Buying bees are not cheap. They're just not. There's a lot of upfront to it. But most of the larger guys do is we have contracts with farms in warmer climates like Georgia or Texas or California, and then around October we'll put them on flatbed trucks, send them out there to do pollination work, and depending on where you're sending them. Like in California, you get a higher premium for the bee, but you get no insurance on the if the farmer kills your hives from pesticides. But you do if you're in places like Georgia or Louisiana or Texas. The beekeeper has more power to say, you know, this is how much you're going to pay me per hive, and you got to sign a contract where if they die to spraying, you know, you got to cover the cost of that hive. As far as raising it, you put them out in like late April, early May. You got to check them periodically for mites. I couldn't condense the entire process down into a single conversation, but you check them several times throughout the
Mm-hmm.
month. You do splits once the brood comes out, you got to do splits and to expand your colonies and put on more boxes as the colony grows, and then come
Mm-hmm.
September, October. Like it really depends on who you're talking to because like we've started to do a mid-season extraction of the honey right around now, but we'll do a big one in the fall. And there are some beekeepers they
Mm-hmm.
extract every other month. Some people melt down their wax, they make candles, or they sell the wax just as ingots to people who do either woodworking or sewing or metal treating. There's a bazillion different uses for beeswax. Some people sell their honey to wholesalers. Um, some people, you know, they just make a small amount of honey and sell it or give it to friends and family. Um, I like to have my own product. I like to be able to say what I want to say. So, and I like to teach beekeepers things too. So I developed a YouTube channel for that. I developed a podcast for um, to kind of weave in a conversation around a honey recipe to another interest of mine. My girl and I do a podcast on just on movie reviews and casting a movie for productions that haven't rolled out yet. And interlaced within that, we do a um, it's like dinner and a movie segment where I give a honey based recipe to anyone who's listening. So we take the honey and say, okay, we're going to do a dessert this time. We're going to do a meat item this time. We're going to do a vegetarian thing this time. And it's all around the context of a movie that doesn't get a lot of play, but could warrant a conversation around it. So to me, it's been a fun business.
That's really cool.
It's a fun business to me just because it's afforded me the ability to make it the way I want to make it.
And that's right. Every entrepreneur's dream, right, is to make the business and design it in a way that design the business how they want, and how it flow how they want, and things like that. So then, how did you encounter? I mean, you've already mentioned quite a few challenges just with beekeeping alone that you encountered, but is there some? Because I found this with myself as well as when we try to we have this idea in our head and we like, okay, let's do it this specific way, but then it doesn't really work and you try something new. Has there been instances where that's happened, and how did you kind of work around that?
All the time. Well, like there's a couple of different approaches. Like I've tried a couple of flavors that had kind of a lukewarm response, and I personally wasn't so in love with it that I didn't feel the need to continue pushing it. But I am a big believer in that if you create something and you see some success with it and you really care about it, that is the absolute definer of that trumps everything. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like the YouTube channel isn't that big, but I know that YouTube is a better way for me to teach people about the nuances of beekeeping than me trying to go and give seminars. I don't have the time for that. So the first video got very few plays,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next one gets more, and then the next one gets more. You just have to, if you find something that you really like, or a product you've made, or whatever it is, if you start to get some play on it, you just have to keep doing it. It's not, and I know it's not real. There's nothing real algebraic about it.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Here's one example. I came up with a peach and amaretto honey, which a few people, like in fact, my cousin's wife, I remember her really scoffing at it. She's like, "That sounds repulsive. No one's gonna want that." And I'm like, "You just don't know how to pair it. It's very sweet. It's for cheesecake, creme brulee. It's a dessert item." And in some instances, she was right. I had some people try and be like, "Ah, it's too sweet for me." But I came up with a label that I really like. The color of the honey is kind of almost like a bright orange. And it has developed its own following, but I kept making it. So, and the people who love it, they're ravenous about it. They'll message me directly, or they'll come up to the booth. Do you have it this week? Do you have it this week? I'm coming back every week until you make it. But I wouldn't have gotten that response on that product unless I really liked it and ergo decided to keep pushing it forward. So I think when you find something like that and you just don't want to let it go, time will dictate that you're correct. You just have to. The first day I started selling honey, I had one customer who was really excited about me being there because they couldn't find a good supplier. The second one had the same kind of response, and by the third one, I'm like, you know what? I think I really have something here. And that's how I take the addition of any new product that I roll out. By the third buyer, I'm like, I've got something here. I'm not letting go of it. I'm going to keep pushing it. And then over time, you have this section of your customer base that just wants that item. That's what I'd say.
Man, no. I love that. It shows that you had incredible patience, and you just have to be patient with yourself. Like, all right, let's just see if this is going to work first of all, and kind of just not being afraid of, all right, this looks interesting. Let's try this. And then from there, okay, it didn't really work out, but I learned something new. Let's try this instead. And like you said, as time goes on, you get a clearer and clearer picture of, okay, maybe this is what I should try and do. So I'm going to ask the intelligent question of the day, and that's, so there's a lot of times where it's just, right, where that patience really gets tested. Mm-hmm. How do you kind of stay with it, even though, everyone encounters challenges, but when you do encounter those challenges?
How do you stay with it when things get tough? I'll tell you what, I ended up moving, well, I was working with my cousin, and then he passed away. And then his wife and I didn't really see eye to eye on the business. And we kept it going for another couple years, but she kind of unceremoniously sold everything. And like the business almost like came to a grinding halt. And I remember being on the phone with a friend of mine driving one day. She was actually my neighbor in Chicago, and I'm like, I'm terrified this thing is just going to die. And she kind of yelled at me. She was like, well, don't let it. Don't just... And then that really stuck with me. I'm like, my infrastructure is crumbling. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It's a sound framework. I just got to find somebody else to help me out with extraction. And, I had enough money to go out and buy my own, another set of hives. So that's just what I did. But it would have been real easy just to be like, nah, it's not, that was fun. But by that point, I'd already been doing it for like 7 years at that point. And I'm like, this is a good business. It's bought a couple of cars for me. It's paying my rent. Like, I finally have money in the bank. It'd be ridiculous for me to just stop this. So you really have to, I think if anything, you just have to have presence of mind for where you're at. I really enjoyed doing it. I was good at it. It was profitable. I'm not just going to let one person, if I was to allow this person to dictate that I can't have this business anymore, I might as well be working for somebody else. And that's not what I was doing. So you just have to get charged up enough to say, I have found something that's mine, and it's mine. You're not taking it away from me. You almost have to develop just a little bit of I don't want to say an anger, but a little bit. You have to have a little bit of a, this is my thing, you're not going to jerk me around kind of attitude. A little bit. And like when you find, I think that's the greatest thing in life for somebody who finds their thing. When you find that thing, you really have to protect it. It's like, I don't have any kids. This thing is like my kid. It's like I nurture it. It means something to me, and it's over time. It means something to other people. So I kind of have this responsibility to it now, and the responsibility that you feel internally is way more powerful than a job.
Agreed, and there you go. That's the intelligent answer of the day, my friend.
No
That's
problem.
good. I mean, I would add something to that, but man, I don't think I could.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I think we should just leave it at that. So Jay, thank you for coming on. If people want to reach out to you, start beekeeping with you, or whatever it may be, find you on, you mentioned your YouTube, what's the best way that they can do that?
Well, I love to plug the podcast. Louisa and I work pretty hard on that. That's called Critiqueopolis. You can find that on Spotify, like Critique-Opolis. If you want to see any of the YouTube, we just started maybe, I don't know, 2.5, 3 months ago. That just search HeyHoney, and you'll find videos on beekeeping. And we're going to be doing videos on recipes with honey. Also, it'll branch out from there. God knows where that'll go. The website is HeyHoney, HEY honey.biz. You can always order on there if you have questions about something. Message me. If you have questions on beekeeping, you can try, but like I spend most of my times out or packaging, so. I would refer you to the YouTube or the podcast probably.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Honestly, if you want to follow anything, sorry for the shameless plugs here, but you can also find us on Instagram. We're at JAY HeyHoney, and that's it. I'm done.
Awesome. Well, thank you. No worries. You plug as much as you want. So thank you so much, Jay, for
no problem.
coming on.
Gosh, I appreciate it.
All right, everyone, as you can tell, that is Jay Jermo. He's a very intelligent person, has great things to share. I challenge you guys, if anything spoke to you, to go check out him on social media or YouTube, or to go check out his website. If you want to try some of that honey, I'm sure it's there as well. Stay tuned till next week. We have a great guest lined up for you guys. See you guys next week, and let's get after it. Hey everyone, if you liked this episode and would like to hear more, be sure to hit that subscribe or follow button. We release a new episode every Wednesday for you guys to listen to. Thank you guys so much for the support that you give. We could not have done this without you guys. If you would like to be a potential guest on the show, check out intelligentconvos.com and fill out the form there. Thank you guys again, and let's get after it.